church during his childhood. Grew to be a smart man like everyone thought he would. Owned the local plant that sold paper goods, and he always gave to others like the preacher said he should. He didn't know what it was like to have love in his home. So many nights he spent alone with a preacher and a phone. For years the preacher preached about him working 12-hour days, but he justified his lifestyle giving millions away, until he woke up one morning and realized the price he'd paid. Instead of making love, reservations were being made. And on his land he built a church the preacher came to pray. On the edge of the mountaintop they called it Churchill Bay. He had everything a man could ever want, but it's the priceless gifts that can't be bought. He longed for a loving family, yet lived in his mansion alone. All he really had was a preacher and a phone. A preacher and a phone. A preacher and a phone. Years go by and the preacher remains his friend. He still spends his nights alone on the phone in bed. Keeps on paying loans for the ones he's known. To him it's another write-off, for them it's their only home. But he's empty inside, his deeds go unknown, except for every night with a preacher and a phone. He had everything a man could ever want, but it's the priceless gifts that can't be bought. He longed for a loving family, yet lived in his mansion alone. All he really had was a preacher and a phone. A preacher and a phone. A preacher and a phone. Often people wish that money grew on trees, 'cause a wealthy man's life is a poor man's dream. They can't see what it does to a heart full of gold, when there's no one to share with and your life grows old. He had everything a man could ever want, but it's the priceless gifts that can't be bought. He longed for a loving family, yet lived in his mansion alone. All he really had was a preacher and a phone. A preacher and a phone. A preacher and a phone. After a brief illness, Mr. Stone passed on. The city shut down for a day to mourn he was gone. He left his estate to the homeless shelter and town hall, and he was buried by his preacher, laid to rest with his phone.